Hey, what's good, y'all? If you've been watching The Omni King for any meaningful amount of time, then you've probably got the idea that I don't like vegan parents. And guess what? You'd be absolutely correct. But let me clarify. I don't like vegan parents that raise their kids vegan. Now, I've actually seen some evidence that that's not the case for all vegan parents, and that makes me very happy to know there's people out there in the world have an ideology that they stick by, that they care about, that means a lot to them, conscious and intelligent enough to know that it is not in the best interest of their children to push that ideology onto them as well. Now, I won't be talking about that particular instance here. It is an Am I the Asshole story, and that is reserved for Curlington Stories. So if you want to hear about that, it'll be on there. Just make sure you're subscribed and you'll see it soon enough. However, there's something I want to talk about, two stories that are not Am I the Asshole? And they both involve children raised vegan. So the first one was raised vegan, and then once they got old enough to unlock full autonomy, they decided, I'm actually going to eat meat. I'm not a fan of this whole vegan shit. Not for me. My parents are assholes, kind of over it. So they did a full 180 from veganism, which is interesting because I talked about before that there's probably going to be this layer of resentment for a lot of kids raised vegan. And, you know, once they get to a certain age, they're like, wait a second, I do want to eat meat. And my fucking asshole parents said that I couldn't and brainwashed me into thinking everything is just horrible animal abuse, torture, and murder. But in reality, they just been talking out their ass my entire life. And obviously there's some severe health complications that can come along with children being raised vegan. That is always to be considered. And that's what grinds my gears the most, because risking the health, the well-being, the growth, the development, the bone density, all of that stuff, risking all of that for your child over some ideology is just unfathomable to me. But we'll talk about that more in detail later. And the second story is a perfect example of what kind of dangers you are putting your child through by raising them vegan. So this kid raised vegan had severe and constant seizures. We don't have the exact details as to what caused it, but my guess is perhaps a lack of cholesterol, lack of fat, things needed for your brain to function properly. That sort of stuff can lead to seizures. And the reason why we know veganism most likely had something to do with this, well, they were able to cure their child of these afflictions by having them stop being vegan. So let's just get into it. So somebody actually messaged me on Reddit to tell me about this circle snip subreddit. I don't even fully understand it, but it's like, I guess like super alt vegans or something like that. I'm not fully certain, but I did come across this post on there. So whoever that person was messaged me on Reddit and told me about that. I know you're definitely watching this video. Thanks for that. But this was unhinged, completely unhinged. Just like what the people are saying about this, not so much the post itself. The post is quite tame, quite reasonable. But this person says, imagine raising your kid vegan and they turn out like this with a face palm. Or you could have snipped and there would have been 0 new carnage born. Oh, shut the f up and cry more, loser. So here we go. I was raised vegan and was repulsed by meat at first too. I started learning about regenerative agriculture and visiting local, holistically managed farms. Speaking with farming, buying my meat directly from the farmers who raised and cared for the animals, then I got interested in the culinary side of things. I watched Jacques Pepin, I don't know how to say that, guys. If I butchered it, I'm sorry. Debone a chicken beautifully. I watched Japanese sushi chefs fillet their fish, and I treated myself to expensive plates at nice restaurants. This really grew my appreciation for the animal, the meat, and the food. I feel very connected to my food when I get to process it myself. 10 years ago, I was disgusted by the smell of bacon. Now I buy 10-pound slabs of pork belly, skin it, smoke it for bacon, slice, package, and freeze it all by myself. I feel very proud of my work. I also now eat my steaks super rare and sometimes raw, carpaccio. I've really changed a lot, and I think learning about farms, butchery, and culinary arts all helped pique my curiosity and give me confidence to prepare meat. Now, it's not a surprise that the vegans are absolutely outraged by this, you know, completely attacking this person, coming at them like there's some kind of demon. which is actually how they definitely view them, which is interesting because one argument that they like to make is people, if they knew where their meat came from, because they think we're all uneducated, they can't fathom, right? Because it's either you're in one camp or the other to, you know, radical vegans. It's either A, you're uneducated, or you're a satanic piece of shit because you are educated and you do know. They like to convince themselves that the vast majority of people are just uneducated. They just don't know. So it's their job to educate them. And once we're all educated, we'll all be vegan. That's what they believe. That's the delusion they've convinced themselves of. But in reality, most people are educated in the sense where they know where their meat comes from. They know that a lamb doesn't just go into a factory and then just somebody snaps their fingers and then they turn into a lamb shank. That's not how it works. We all know that these animals are killed, they're skinned, they're chopped up. Yeah, I know, morbid words coming out of here, but you're watching a channel that talks about veganism. I would be a complete and utter hypocrite if I didn't actually talk about the realism, the reality of what actually happens. So if you're here, understand you're always gonna get the facts. I'm not gonna sugarcoat shit, I don't do that. But anyway, some of them are also like, if you couldn't do it yourself, then you shouldn't eat it. Well, here's somebody that can do it themselves, you know, prepare it themselves. I mean, I don't know if they're not necessarily culling the animals themselves, but I'm willing to bet this person wouldn't have a problem with that either, considering they visited farms, they've seen the actions themselves, and they were like, yeah, this is completely fine, which I know. Vegans cannot fathom that for the life of them. They just can't get it. Now, I understand being compassionate and not wanting to eat animals and not wanting other people to eat animals. I get that. But you need to understand at the end of the day, Mufasa said it himself, the circle of life. Humans are omnivores. That doesn't mean we get to pick and choose whether we eat meat or whether we eat plants. We need both. That's what a balanced diet is. It's that simple. There's certain nutrients we can only get from plants, and there's certain nutrients we can only really get from meat, and we need them all. So a balanced diet is always the way to go. And the truth is, all of the nutrients that you can get from meat are so much more readily available in meat because of the way our systems are set up, because of our biology. So when you reject meat, it becomes extremely difficult to make sure you get all of those nutrients, considering how less readily available they are in plants. So if you want to put yourself through that hell, that restrictive torture for the sake of animals, power to you. The rest of us, no thank you. Now we're gonna look at some of these belligerent ass comments. So this comment pisses me off in ways that you will understand if you watched my video I posted yesterday. Exactly, I can totally imagine that kids raised vegan may rebel against their parents by becoming carnivores. And I just can't imagine having to deal with that. My dog is so much easier to manipulate and force to be vegan against their will. Awesome, real crazy flex. Abundant, very obvious, very clear animal abuse, but yes, be super proud of yourself for that. He eats his vegan kibble and is happy as a Larry. Bullshit. Yep, and those who want to raise kids should consider adoption. If the kid turns out to be vegan, it's a win. If they don't, neutral, as you didn't create another non-vegan. Wow. Creating a non-vegan is the stuff of nightmares, I guess, if you're a vegan. Just you roll around in your bed screaming at night, waking up in cold sweats because, oh no, my kid turned out to not be a vegan like me. It's unbelievably sad and pathetic. Like it really feels like with these types of vegans, it's not even about the fucking animals. It's not. I cannot in good conscience convince myself and believe that these types of people in these comments actually give a shit about animals. They just want to feel superior to you. They want to be able to flex in your face that I have the moral high ground because I don't consume the flesh of animals and you do because you're a carnivore piece of shit. That's what they want. They want that validation to feel good and to feel special and to feel like they are worth something. And it is so sad and it's so insecure. They are not like regular vegans at all. Till vegans, like people are just vegan because like they feel like it's good for them. And then people that are like, yeah, it's for the animals, but I understand that veganism isn't for everyone. I understand kids can't be vegan. I understand dogs and cats shouldn't be vegan. I get all of that, so I don't push that. I just personally want to reduce my harm to animals. And those, in my opinion, are the best vegans. And I hope that they are the majority. Now, obviously, the people that are terminally online are usually the most belligerent, most outspoken, assholey individuals. And those are the ones you constantly see. So it can kind of flip your perspective and influence it severely on what an actual vegan is like. Are they all like these assholes that we see on these Reddits that are 90% of the content on here? I don't think so. But I think the ones that are just, you know, chill, regular, smuggler individual aren't as obsessed as these people. So you're never going to see them nearly as much unless they all decide to rise up and defend themselves and defend, you know, the image of veganism, which isn't something that they should need to do. And so it's somebody that talks about vegan related content all the time. I do want to clarify, I do not believe that the majority of vegans are like these fucking lunatics. Now, I could be wrong, but I hope I'm not. Now, if you already thought I was getting a little heated there, just wait till you see this. Veganism is dangerous. Hello, ex-vegans. I'm curious if the following has happened to other children that you know. My grandson was influenced by his mother and sister to become vegan at 8 years old. Within a year, he started developing epilepsy. It progressed until he was getting about 20 seizures a day. The parents are clueless as to why he developed epilepsy and ended up putting him on drugs, which mitigated the brain spike activity but did not cure the problem. They finally took him off the vegan diet due to severe underweight, and he's now vegetarian. You need to calm down. So obviously going vegetarian is a big improvement. I think 99% of, maybe not 99, I think the vast majority, probably not 99, but the vast majority of people can be healthy on a vegetarian diet. Because a vegetarian diet, as opposed to vegan diets, allows you to consume dairy, allows you to consume eggs, allows you to consume honey, and also doesn't restrict you entirely from consuming meat sometimes. Like, I know that there are vegetarians out there who I respect as vegetarians who will occasionally have fish every once in a while. So they're not as anal about not consuming animal products at all as vegans are, obviously. So naturally, of course, you can get all the real nutrients that you need, especially the ones that are abundantly more available in animal products and are absorbed much more easily than the plant counterparts. And also, I just want to say, allowing your child to get to be severely underweight by feeding them a vegan diet is so unbelievably fucking irresponsible that it just boils my blood. But I'm gonna hold those thoughts for a little while longer. The amount of seizures went down within weeks to about 2 per day, dropped by 90%. The parents have not been able to put 2 and 2 together and realize that getting him off the vegan diet brought the amount of seizures down. I think they have put 2 and 2 together, they just refuse to acknowledge it. I pleaded with my son to put him on a regular diet of animal protein, but he says it would upset his sister and would not be in line with the culture of the family. Severe cultishness going on here, in my opinion, and my grandson is a pawn in their dangerous game. Yeah, the way this person put this at the end here, a pawn in their dangerous game, is exactly how I see it. They're like playing chess with their family, right? They're playing chess with their children. Their child is a fucking pawn that they get to maneuver around however they please. Your kid is not a pawn. There are people, there are parents that have actually killed their kids with severe malnourishment because they were convinced that a vegan diet was the healthiest thing for them, healthiest and most ethical bullshit. They believe this dogma to the core of their being that they're willing to risk the lives of their own flesh and blood to uphold this bullshit belief, this moral superiority garbage. It is pathetic. I can't fathom it. Like, it's just so bewildering and it's painful to see. Like, your kid doesn't deserve to have their life ruined before they even have a chance to really think for themselves. And people like this, parents like this, are literally taking that away, stripping it away from them. Now, even if they don't have like the most severe issues, like this kid having epilepsy and 20 seizures a day, but even if it was just a lack of bone density, a lack of protein, lower protein, so that their body can't put on muscle, for instance, or they break easily. But what if your kid wants to be an athlete when they get into middle school and they fucking can't because if they look at the ground the wrong way, they'll shatter their ankle? These are real risks. These aren't things that I'm making up. They are genuine risks that there's scientific data that supports that these risks exist with kids being raised on vegan diets. But you know what doesn't exist? A single credible study that states very clearly that a vegan diet is healthy for growing children. And that study that all the vegans used to, it's not even a study, it was just a statement, a position from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics that said veganism was healthy for all stages of life. They walk that back because they realize, wait a second, there's no evidence to support these claims. And that's because there isn't, because there are no studies, none, that shows evidence or proves that a vegan diet is healthy for all stages of life, and especially not for growing children. But that should be common sense. That should be obvious. You're stripping them of the most important nutrients for development. Your gosh darn brain, which has to grow quite a bit, is made up of fats and cholesterol. Proteins are significantly important for the growth of muscles, calcium for bones, iron for blood. The list goes on, and all of these things are significantly more bioavailable and easier to absorb with meat than plants. Doing this is like incorporating an extremely tight bottleneck. Now, some kids might be able to squeeze through in that bottleneck, okay, some of the time. But the important thing is, why are you risking it? Why do you think, oh, I can do it 100% right, and I'm not going to completely ruin my child's future by doing this? What makes you think that you have the ability to do that?